Well, hello, everyone, and good evening. My name is Renee Moelders. I'm a partner with Convergence Coaching, and we are super excited to be here with you today, January 29th, the last Monday of January. Wow, 2024. I know, Samantha, it's like going by in a whirl. And I'm excited to be here today with Samantha Mansfield, senior consultant on our team, and then actually Caroline Reddy. And Caroline, when she starts talking, she'll tell you her actual title. I always forget it, but she is on our operational team. She's a member of that team and has a marketing focus. And then also the reason we invited Caroline today, and by the way, Caroline's always here on the HR Huddle, but she's hanging out in the background and you don't get to meet her. Today, we invited her to come out into the front because she's a member of our transformational leadership program right now. She's participating in that program and really participating. And that's the way we always do it at Convergence. We invite team members to join the TLP so they can learn about it from the inside out. And so Caroline's here. We're going to talk a little bit about our TLP workshop 1 that happened last week. And she's going to give us that perspective of the insider, the participant. So we're super excited to have her with us here today. And just as a little bit of background, our transformational leadership program, you've probably heard about it before, but it's a year-long program for experienced managers and newer partners. And that includes people on the operational side of the business. So marketing folks, HR, IT professionals we get inside that program, consultants. So really our TLP is broadening. It's just like our profession is broadening, and we're not just having traditional tax and accounting and audit professionals join that program. And in fact, we have 4 client accounting CAS people in that class, the fall TLP. So a very diverse class, including the diversity of having Caroline, a marketing person, in there. And that fall TLP is 2 workshops, 2-day workshops. And we had the first of those last week. And it's an in-person experience. We go to Nashville with these folks. We spend 2 days with them. And it is an opportunity for them to meet each other and connect with each other and really take on these first leadership concepts of learning about themselves, learning about where they are in their leadership approach now, and then thinking about where do they want to go next and what are some of the leadership attributes and leadership behaviors and strategies that are going to help them get there. So we dig into things like ownership, delegation, communication, project planning, because they're up to a lot of things, these TLP participants. So we want to teach them how to masterfully manage projects and communicate about their projects and their initiatives. And then we do feedback with them. So we cover a lot of ground, but really focused in on themselves. And we like to teach our TLP folks to start with growing and developing themselves, because that's the place they have the most control, and they can really have an impact by making changes in themselves. They will see changes around them. So that gives you just a little peek or an idea of the TLP in that first workshop. And now, Samantha, before we get Caroline talking, you as a facilitator, because you were my co-facilitator for that workshop, and I know you have some thoughts and insights about how it went. And so let's give you the microphone now.
Yeah. Well, I think the interesting thing is that when a lot of participants come to the workshop, they have an expectation of what they believe is going to happen, right? And so often we've all done different corporate trainings or professional development things. And one of the elements that makes me so happy when we're done is when I have people say, or we read on the evaluation, this wasn't at all what I expected. and that's what we're striving for, because to what you were saying, Renee, that it's an opportunity to get the peek inside themselves as well. And that this isn't just about teaching management techniques or, a way to delegate, but this is really to understand who they're being as leaders and to get a sense of where their strengths are and where their weaknesses are. And the beauty of bringing them together in person where they can meet and collaborate, and Caroline, I hope you'll share some of this, is that they start to really get a sense of some of the internal struggles that they have they're not alone, that so many others feel the same way. And it's eye-opening. And again, if you're a more seasoned leader or HR, you're probably like, yes, I hear these things all the time. But as professionals that you're developing and finding your leadership career path, you feel alone, or you feel insecure that, man, I'm the only one that isn't confident, or I'm the only one that has these kinds of thoughts about myself. And I think one of the more comical items that just really made me laugh last week when we were all together is when somebody brought up that there was a small thing, a very small thing that they had to give feedback on, but it's just a small thing. And the room almost erupted in everybody else who got frustrated about that same thing, and how they all needed to figure out how to give feedback on this very small thing. So we minimize so much about the things that can bother us or fester and slow us down. And yet when they come together and vulnerably share, they learn, hey, I'm not the only one, and it does get to me, and we can get to a solution. And Caroline, I so appreciated how you have a different role, but when you did your sharing, the other accountants and auditors and tax preparers, they were saying, I feel that same way. And so I want to have you get sharing, but those were some of the things that I really prized in hearing the interaction between everybody.
Yes, I think that's one of the biggest things I took away from the workshop was, even though I'm not an accountant, my background is in dance, and I have had nothing to do with any of the accounting profession before working at Convergence. I was still able to share vulnerably and very openly and connect with the rest of the group. And it was so encouraging to have people come up after and be like, actually, yeah, I feel the same way, or, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with the same thing. And then it kind of makes your little voice a little bit quieter. I know that was something I shared quite a bit in the workshop about how negative my inner voice is, and how he's named Biff, and he can be really mean. And I think that was the first thing I shared, like in the first hour of the workshop. So I set it up as like, opening the door for being very authentic and sharing very openly about what you're dealing with. And yeah, it was just really encouraging to have people come up to me after and be like, yeah, I think I have a Biff too. And I'm like, oh, perfect. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, one person said right there, Caroline, if you remember, there was like this pause after you talked about Biff. And then she's like, Caroline, I'm so glad you said that. And then, that just led them right into this discussion around the table of their own little voices.
Yes.
And probably about a third of our TLP participants come in working on their confidence. Mm-hmm. It's something that's challenging for them. And it could be confidence because of those internal messages, or it could be confidence connected to decisiveness, that they're having a hard time making decisions or figuring out the right path forward, which is a big part of being a leader, is leading other people and deciding on a direction. And so some people struggle with that part of it. Others struggle with the visioning, like envisioning what's next for my coachee, or for people on my engagements, or for my clients. And that can connect into confidence too. And so having them start to recognize, like, see that little voice, and they see it throughout the workshop. You and other participants would stop and point it out inside of that first discussion, Caroline, and then again and again and again, it would come up.
Yeah.
That we would catch ourselves, that negative little voice and the messages that it has, and we talk about that. So that you and the other participants can start to see those patterns and recognize that for yourself outside of the workshop, when you go back into the wild and you're, out there on your own.
Yeah.
That you'll have some more skill in being able to catch it and stop those messages yourself.
Yeah, I started writing down actually in that morning of the first day, like anytime that I noticed some really negative thoughts coming through, just like in my notebook, just jotting it down to get it out of my head. And then I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't dwelling on it. It was on paper. It was somewhere else. I didn't have to worry about it. And then I could focus really on the conversation. And then by day 2, I wasn't writing any of it down. I wasn't thinking about it. It was a lot quieter. So I just think connecting with the group and everyone, the way that everyone shared and talked, it helped to build a little bit more connection and confidence and just quiet that inner voice down.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it's valuable. Our group listening here are HR professionals, and you may have people that are coming into your office, and you start hearing some of the ways they talk about themselves or their work. That journaling technique is so valuable.
Yeah.
It's something that you can really recommend of write down what those thoughts are. And then you can start to verify that most often it's just not true what it's saying, but it's a way that you can arm these individuals with a way to start measuring, engaging, and start quieting, just like what you shared.
Yeah, and Samantha, also having something to come back to your coach or to come back to that HR person with, because when I first meet leaders and if they're working on their confidence, I can't necessarily see inside of their minds to know what's tripping them up or what are the thought patterns or what are the situations where it becomes a problem for them. So they make those notes and those ideas. And Caroline, I would encourage you to continue doing that, because then you can come back to coaching conversations with your convergence coach or your infirm coach. You have two people to rely on. And so does every other participant in the program. Or, in the case of HR professionals, like where Samantha is, encouraging people to jot those ideas down and bring them back to you so that you can look at them together. Because these are people's biggest worries and concerns and fears. And sometimes they're rattling around back there and informing us and pushing us in certain directions that aren't necessarily the right directions. And we're really focusing on confidence at the moment because that's something Caroline's working on, and a third of our TLP really. We said, who else is working on confidence? And about a third of your group raised their hands.
Yeah.
And but there are other things that people were working on in that workshop that they connected around and they felt relieved by. Like, it's not just me.
Right.
I'm not the only one that struggles with this or worries about this or has this challenge in interacting with other people.
Right. And it was nice too to have the conversation of like, oh, I'm working on this, and someone else who maybe already had a solution, or just like to the back and forth conversation of problem solving was really fun too, to watch that play out as well. So.
Well, and I think that's one of the pieces is that, in Caroline, certainly disagree with me if you do, but to be able to be in like this program, it is a gift. And it's a gift of time that the firm is giving to each of the participants. And one of the things, we encouraged right at the beginning is to make sure that they're viewing it as that this is time to truly get to devote to themselves, especially as you start getting into these leadership roles. So often you feel the tug of war of this is the time I need to give to clients. And then anything extra is supposed to be whatever I'm supposed to be doing as a leader. So whether that's people development or billing or all those administrative things that aren't necessarily client per se, but in there, where's that time to work on me? Because I get to that leadership role, but do I have all the skills that I need? Do I know how to be a leader? And we don't. And so the participants really were acknowledging that. And Caroline, again, you can totally disagree if that doesn't seem accurate to you.
Hard to disagree with that. I definitely feel like it was an absolute gift to be there. The feedback piece is a gift. I know, like our 360 leadership survey, that is a whole big gift, which for anyone who's watching who maybe hasn't been through the program or sent anyone through, it's 6 to 8 peers that are inputting into a survey that are providing you with this gift of feedback that you can take with you through the program, and you identify your areas of weakness and your strengths. And that was something that it was scary because it's your team, it's who you're working with every day, but it was so wonderful to hear some of the things that I'm doing well, even though if I, with my confidence that if I didn't believe it in the moment, I'm working on it. But it was nice to hear like the weaknesses too, of like areas that I can improve. And they're not like major, they're like little tweaks. That was, I think, the thing that scared me the most, is that I was going to get these major like overhaul of weaknesses, but it's like, oh, just practice this idea a little bit. And it was nice to, when we talked about like our strengths and weaknesses in the workshop as well with other participants, to hear like what they were working on, and then they could give you some feedback on like, oh, try doing this. This is what I do with my people. So that was nice.
Yeah, and one of the other participants said at some point, so I'm starting to get it, that these are small tweaks and adjustments. I don't have to make myself into a whole other person. And we were like, exactly. And how impractical would that be if we tried to make you into some whole other person? So it is leveraging the strengths and the things that you're doing well and tweaking some of those things that aren't working as well, and building new strategies and skills inside of that. So there are the workshops and the webinars to give you those skills. There's interaction with your cohort to build those skills, with your convergence coach, with your infirm coach. And this is sort of unfolding organically over the course of the year, because if you think about it, like I'm thinking of a map or something, it's like all this information coming in, and then the activities that you're doing, and how over time it starts to connect and make sense. And we do just see incredible progress. And Caroline, we're excited to see what kind of progress you make. I mean, next steps for you are, you're going to set goals and submit those to first your convergence coach, and then you're going to send them to your infirm coach and get those finalized and approved. And then that's your roadmap for the next year of things you're going to be working on. And it's 3 goals. It's not a ton of things, but they are 3 big goals. And one of them is the behavioral goal. And I don't know if you'd be willing to talk to our audience about what you think your behavioral goal might look like.
Well, I actually had my check-in today with Jen. So we talked goals a little bit, and we're looking actually at 2 behavior goals for me. One of them being confidence. That's a running theme of 2024. And the other one I'm considering is time management, because I am a very non-linear individual, and sometimes that gets me really tripped up. So working on more time management strategies that work within like the way that I work and the way that I think about working, so I can be a little bit more successful and a little more on time.
Awesome.
I think that's an important point that you just said, is that everybody's journey is different. So even techniques like time management, it's not about making everybody do the time management the same way.
Yeah,
it is. And that's what the coaching is we work with each individual, leveraging your strengths, leveraging who you are, and using these techniques to make you a more effective leader. And so I love how you just said that, because it's not about getting you to just conform to time management or just make you be a linear person. Caroline brings strengths because of what she does, and we want to help her be more effective in applying techniques in a way that does that for you. And I think that's a really important distinction to make, is that one of our mantras is one size fits one. Even though this is a program and there's material that we're covering in groups, it's really all about how does this apply to each of you individually.
Yeah. Developing leaders one at a time, Samantha. It's really like our mission as an organization. And then you can see it show up inside of the TLP. And it differentiates this program from other programs out there, specifically because of that one size fits one nature and the coaching and the ongoing coaching throughout the program. So Caroline, did you have anything else you wanted to add before I wrap us up?
Not in this moment, but if you're considering sending participants through, I highly recommend it. I mean, I have the opportunity to sit in on so many of our webinars, being a moderator and being in the program. It's just an entirely different feel, and I've just really enjoyed it, and it's worth the investment. It's in your team. So
yeah, and it's only just beginning for you, Caroline. That's the cool part. You're right at the beginning.
Yeah.
So Just to wrap us up, we are enrolling right now for our spring class that kicks off on May 28th. So if you're interested in the TLP for some of your leaders, you should reach out to us and let us know. We're about a third full for that class. So if you're looking for seats, you should definitely let us know. We expect to fill that class up, and it tends to be the most popular timing. Caroline's in the fall program, and right now we're enrolling a spring program, and then we will also have probably a summer program that kicks off the end of July. So please do reach out to us, and thanks for listening today, and thanks for being interested in this program. We're just so super excited about and so passionate about. And thank you, Samantha, for being a passionate facilitator and coach, and for being here today. And then Caroline, we love having you in the program. Thanks for sharing your inside look about it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Have a good evening, everyone.